G'day guys, Carl Jocumsen here, Bassmaster Elite Series Pro, coming to you from the boat in my shop. I'm going over one of my favourite products from X Zone, by far the most versatile bait I think there is. I don't think there is another soft plastic bait that is as versatile as this thing right here. This is the X Zone Swammer. It comes in a 3.5, a 4-inch, and a 5.5. So you got three incredible options, amazing colors. And the reason I love it so much is because of how many different baits that I use this swammer on. I'm going to go through a few of them and show you just why I love this bait so much. So as you can see here, anytime they make it to one of my Bass Mafia boxes, that means they're the real deal. When I put them in this, it's because I'm going through them. So I actually take them out of their packs and I lay them through here. I really like it. It hasn't affected the tail action or anything for me, and I just put my favorite colors in here, and then I'm able to just grab them fast. So I have the 5.5s in there, and then I have a box, half of the 3.5s, and then the 4 inches right there, and all my sort of favorite colors, and then I have the rest ready to go in packs. So they're the two boxes I carry, and then right here is why I love it so much. So this is just a handful of the baits of why I use and how I use the swammer. So straight up, probably my favorite is going to be on my Bassman spinnerbait. So I've been using it as a trailer on my spinnerbait ever since I was introduced this by Brandon. This is the 3.5. I prefer it. It's a pretty big bait, and what it does, it hangs out there perfectly, and that tail action, that if you have a certain type of plastic on here, sometimes the skirt can affect the tail action. The swammer, it does not, because it's able to just take the slightest slow roll action. That tail's going to have a ton of action when you're dead slow rolling this one. So that's you know, that Tennessee shad style underneath there. This is a clear water with a little bit of color in it. I've just caught so many, fish have literally knocked the eyes off this thing. So that's been battle hardened. So one of my favorites, spinnerbait trailer by far. Next, for sure, this was the one that impressed me the most, is the Chatterbait trailer. So everyone loves the Chatterbait. This is obviously the evergreen, one of the best, and I like the 4-inch one for this. This here is the greatest bluegill color. Anytime that you're around some bluegill, this is the color that you want right here. It's incredible. I don't cut it down or anything. I just line it up, thread that thing on, get it nice and straight, push it over those keepers, and it just makes the ultimate Chatterbait trailer. And the reason that it does for me is it hunts. That tail makes the Chatterbait do erratic actions. It doesn't just have the same action, it seems to kick and hunt and wander, and that's what you want in a Chatterbait. So amazing Chatterbait trailer right there. For me, a lot of people like the adrenaline craw and, you know, a toad style bait for a buzz bait, but for me, I love a paddle tail. I love a straight single tail paddle tail on my buzz bait. That it's a little bit more natural to me. It's just a one fish, one bait fish has like veered off from the pack, and that perfect little tail just buzzing under there. It works when you're burning it, it works when you're dead slow rolling it, and they absolutely crush it. So beautiful buzzbait trailer right there. Obviously the most popular way right here is straight on a jig head. So the swammer doesn't have any eyes on it, so I like to use a jig head that has some eyes, and gives you a perfect bait fish profile. I'll throw that on a spin rod, I'll throw it on a bait caster, all the way through all sizes, but that 3.5 and that nice little clear, that's the perfect shad imitation. Rig it on a jig head from 1/4 ounce up to half, 3/4 ounce, fish it down deep in schools. That is probably the most fish catching bait by far. What's most impressive about the swammer is it will swim as slow as you can possibly wind it. You cannot wind it slow enough and it will still thump, it'll still work, but it'll also have some body roll. That's what catches bass, that's what gets them to bite. When you see that hook turning and that body rolling and that tail thumping at a dead slow roll, that's what bass can't stand. So That's the reason the bait hunts, that's the reason they bite it, and what makes the Swammer so special. So straight on a jig head is perfect. The final two, this was one that I utilised at Pickwick, and I've caught so many fish on this. This is the owner Flashy. It has either a little Colorado or a willow underneath it. If there's bait, if there's colour in the water, I'm going to go with the Colorado, the little willow, and just in a bait fish style pattern. And this is the 5.5. You can throw this around shad spawn, you can throw it through grass, around stumps. I'm telling you, that is a fish catching bait right there. The owner Flashy with either the 4-inch or the 5.5 is an absolute killer. And then one that I still love throwing, and but we're not allowed to use it on the Elite Series, but you can't beat all 3.5s or the 4 inches on an Alabama rig. This is the ultimate Alabama rig bait. I usually put the 3.5s on all the outside, and then I'll put that 4-inch or the 5.5 in the middle, and that will get majority of bites, especially if you're only allowed one hook. Put that one hook in the middle, let it hang back, have a bigger bait on there and a different color. So there you go, X Zone Swammer. This is a super special swim bait and so versatile. That's what I love about it. I go through these things like crazy. I use them on so many different applications. It's my favorite swim bait by far, and I know it's going to be yours. Check them out, so many different colors. The X Zone Swammer.